Hey everybody, how's it going? MajorPayne here, and I'm just taking a break from playing in the Diablo 4 closed beta. It's coming to an end. I've been having a great time playing through the first act that's been available to us this first weekend. I hope that anybody that has had access to the beta this weekend has had a great time too. And yeah, it's just been a fun experience so far, and I'm really looking forward to the future stuff that comes from Blizzard and next weekend as well for the open beta. Hopefully that goes well for everybody as well. But yeah, taking this break, I've been kind of looking through some of the other reactionary videos of people playing the game, just kind of getting different perspectives of things. As you can see right here, I'm watching Osmongold, playing through. He's playing a barbarian. Yeah, and another video kind of popped up on the sidebar that caught my attention, right? And it was from a YouTuber named Neeko2lo's, and his channel's primarily about MMORPGs, as like his about section kind of suggests. And I was like, okay, that's the video that I found or caught my attention was this one, and it was called Diablo 4 Feels Terrible So Far. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I generally have positive things to say about the game, and so do some of the other community members and content creators that I've checked out playthrough videos from and whatnot. So I'm curious to see what somebody on the other side of the coin thinks about the game, right? Like what is that perspective like, And this one caught my eye. I thought, sure, let's check it out. He does talk about MMOs and RPGs a lot, so there's some credibility here, at least I think. I did notice, I did kind of filter through some of the videos here that he has. He talks about a lot of MMOs, WoW. He does have Path of Exile, I think, in here, Lost Ark, and a few others. There's some Riot discussions in here as well, but I don't see a lot of Diablo-related content, right? That's okay too. We're all allowed to do our thing. You want to play Lost Ark and these other MMOs, that's perfectly fine. We are allowed to play and have fun with the games that we enjoy. That's just the way it is. So even on that kind of note, it's cool to see potentially the perspective of someone who's not really familiar with the franchise, right? A brand new player's potentially's perspective on it, even if he hasn't played the game for years and he's just now coming into Diablo 4 to check it out. Maybe it would change his mind on certain things, and maybe he would become a fan. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to see, and kind of review together what he thought of the game, what his ideas are, maybe if he has some suggestions to making things better. And yeah.
Hello and welcome back, guys. We just came off of a session in Diablo 4, just finished the entirety of Act 1, and I'm around level 20-ish, having available a bunch of legendaries already and stuff on my Barbarian. And this is a little bit of a review. I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and as you can see from the title, most of the stuff isn't necessarily good. So let's get started. So first of all, let's talk about the positives, although there aren't that many. Okay, I will also take reference to a bunch of other video games ranging from Lost Ark, Last Epoch, and I guess PoE to an extent.
Okay, so yeah, there you have, he's probably really experienced in those other games, right? So yeah, let's see how he compares the two games together. Although, at least for me, I like to separate those games from each other because they're not the same. And I don't think those games are easily comparable to the Diablo franchise games. I think that they have their own special unique traits to them, as those types of games should have unique traits to them. You don't want to have a clone, right, of a game. You want your game to be different and offer something different so that you can build your own specific genre related empire, if you will. You know what I mean? You don't want to have the same game. You don't want to clone. Otherwise, what's the point?
Keep that in mind. First of all, I think the world building, the color palette, the atmosphere, sound design, all of that shit is really nice. I actually genuinely think Blizzard is amazing when it comes to those things. And
don't agree all the way there.
That's really good. Also, to build onto that, voice acting is also incredible.
It's pretty good.
This is no mere armor. This is a holy vessel of the highest craftsmanship.
Each stage, each cinematic, each little, even just random NPCs in the town have very nice voice actors, and I think it just adds to the atmosphere, and I think they did a really great job at doing that. Now to the
I have to agree there. The atmosphere of the game is really, really good. The dreariness of Sanctuary feels really good. It feels like a return to some of the darker roots and elements of the game that we saw in Diablo, the first one, and Diablo 2. I generally agree with that. The music and the atmosphere feels amazing.
things that I disliked, which is, well, that's a much longer list. First of all, force move plus interact isn't possible. So either you have an ability on all of those buttons, so for example, left click is move, interact, and your basic ability, or you have to completely split that up.
Okay, I don't believe that's true here. That's a little wonky to me, what he's saying. I'm trying to, let me go back really. I want to try to understand exactly what he's saying. Maybe I'm interpreting it wrong. But the force move is there, just like it is in Diablo 3. And it works. It works. I can show you but I just want to see what he, go back because I want to understand what he's trying to say.
And I think they did a really great job at doing that. Now to the things that I disliked, which is, well, that's a much longer list. First of all, force move plus interact isn't possible. So either you have an ability on all of those buttons, so for example, left click is move, interact, and your basic ability, or you have to completely split that up. So what I did is I basically have split them up, so my movement, my force move is still on left click, and then my basic ability and my interact is on F. So especially as a melee class, I can actually walk around the mobs without attacking them and actually dodge things, you know? It's, why is that not a thing? Any other ARPG has this. Why is this still a problem?
Okay, well, you can do everything he just said, and I see he's got it set up. He's separated all his skills and he has it into QWERTY. You didn't have to do that. Hold on a second. I'm in D4 right now. I can show how I have my force move set up, right? And I believe he's just trying to say he wants to be able to move around the mobs, and not attack them and not like be locked into the combat in the game. And you can do that, and it works almost the same as it does in Diablo 3. But yeah, hold on. Let me go back into D4 here, okay? Right, I'll show you how I have mine set up. And I think this is what he's trying to get at, right? And I didn't remove the combinations at all, right? Because this is how Diablo has worked in the past, right? You do have your move, interact, your basic skill, whatever, kind of forced onto your right click. That is true. So you attack there, move, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Force move, right now, I have it set to the center click of my mouse, right? Like you don't have to uncombine anything. I just made one change, and that was putting force move on the center of my mouse. And here, I'll show you how it works in the game, right? And I'll also explain why I put it on the center of my mouse. Here, I'm clicking the center of my mouse. I'm moving. I'm force moving. I take it off. Stop moving. Right? Force moving. Stop moving. So the force move, or it works. Let's find a mob really quick. Okay, watch. Moving through the mobs. Not attacking them. You can see here, right? So that's generally how force move works. And now if I hit shift, which is to help to stop moving, it will lock my position and I'll be able to attack with my right click. And I can move that anywhere, right? Now I can move it. So this is generally how it works. Like, I'm not sure, maybe there was just some misunderstanding on how to set that up by him, but it looks like I'm force moving right now. It's force move over here. Look at force moving, force moving, force moving. I'm still force moving. Now let me do some attacks. Now I stop force moving. I start attacking. Force move. Force move, force move. So I can generally move around wherever I want to go right now and be fine. So when I'm kiting, you can still force move. So it's working the way I believe it's intended, and I think this is what he was trying to explain. He wanted the actions to be, was to be able to force move around the mobs, and actually, in previous videos, a buddy of mine told me that force move wasn't in the game, and that kind of made me sad because it's almost needed, right, to be able to maneuver around the mobs. So I, to an extent, agree. A force move does need to be in the game to properly position yourself and kite mobs in a game like Diablo 4 or RPGs and whatnot. So I think there's just a misunderstanding there with how he was setting things up. He didn't need to go into, you know, QWERTY, uncombine everything. You just needed to make that one change, and he had the force move. He just put it onto the right click. If that's the way you want to play, okay. Then put it that way. Me personally, I like to actually have it on, you know, my scroll wheel, if I can scroll up or down or not. But there's a bug with that. That's the reason why I have it on my center click. There's actually a bug with the scroll wheel, and the reason for that. Let's go back into the game really quick. I want to try to move through this a little faster. I noticed this today. You know, I didn't even bother looking for a force move because my buddy told me it wasn't in the game anymore, but it's there, which is nice. And it's kind of a bummer that I found that out now, but I'm also really glad that I did find that out now. It would have helped me in my battle with Ashava a lot, because you do have to reposition. So maybe I'll try battling her again, you know, sometime in the future. But back to the controls. I tried to put it on my scroll up and scroll down. That's typically how I have my force move set up in Diablo 3. But I couldn't do it here. It wasn't working. So I bugged it. I sent it in as a bug. You should be able to assign the button to it because it allows you to. Watch. I'll scroll wheel up. It recognizes it as up. I save. I go out of the game. Return to the game. But it's not force moving, you know. So to me, that's a bug. And I bugged it up. I sent it in. We should be able to assign the, you know, the scroll wheel up or whatever button you want to be force move to actually work. And the reason I think that's a bug is because it looks like down here, you'll notice zoom on the mouse wheel. That was the standard. And if you watch a lot of my other videos, my first playthroughs, I'm so used to using scroll wheel up and down to force move, I forgot in D4, and it was zooming in and out on me. And I was just like, oh, I got to remember that this is not set up right. You know, I can't force move anymore, whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. But this is the option that does that. You turn it off, and it seems like this is hard-coded into the game, and that's bad. I don't like that. I should be able to choose what zooms in and what zooms out. So that's a gripe from me, personally, that shouldn't be hard-coded into the game, and I think that's why the scroll up and scroll down can't be used as a mapped button for force move, or maybe even other things, too. So I bugged that up. Hopefully they change that. That's something I think Blizzard should actually address, because that sucks. I want to be able to use what I want to use to play the game, you know. Let's save these changes, and let's go back to the video and see what else he has to say about the game.
For the Diablo franchise, like I've no clue how that is still in the game. Well, even worse, I think, is the fact that this acts like a huge red flag. Like, if there's a dev playing the game and he's like, well, I would love to move and interact but not attack at the same time, then he would probably change that. So what does that mean? That means either the devs are absolutely brain dead and they have no idea what's going on, or they simply don't give a fuck and they're fine with the game feeling clunky as shit with the controls. First.
Okay, so with that being said, at least I think, I could be wrong, I could be misunderstanding what he's trying to say should be happening or what he would like to be happening, but the force move works. It works. It's working for me, you know, after I found out that it exists and I set it up, it's working just like it does in Diablo 3. I can do the exact same things. I can kite, I can force move myself around. I can stutter step. You'll watch me in videos, you know, doing that soon, you know. So this portion of it I disagree. I think he just misunderstood how to set this up. That's just what I think. I hope, maybe I'm wrong, but force move is there, it's working. Not sure what he's going on about here. The devs are being stupid or whatever. I don't know. I think this is just user error. Sorry.
Huge red flag. I have no idea why that's in the game and why every other ARPG understands this and this game doesn't. Apparently D3 has the same problem. No clue how that's even possible if a game is, you know.
Okay, it doesn't, and he's kind of alluding to his inexperience with the Diablo games right now, because he was just like, I don't know, like, kind of a thing, and that's okay. Again, you don't have to play the games. I'm not saying that, but it works. Force move works in D3. I have no problems with it.
Out for 10 plus years, and that's still in the game. No clue how that's even in there. That's terribly depressing. And that ties also into
just learn how to use it,
which I already talked about. I think I've only played Barbarian basically, and I tried a little bit of Sork just to have a comparison. And well, comparative.
That's not going to be a good comparison because the barb. Yeah, let's continue.
Barbarian feels like literal dog shit, and Sork feels amazing.
Oh my goodness!
Just having the advantage of being range is obviously already huge.
No,
but
yeah.
Does more damage, better AOE, doesn't have shitty resource management that you have to have like 10 different items for. I don't know. Like after trying both a little bit and having played Barbarian through the entirety of the storyline and some dungeons and stuff. I have no idea what happened here. I don't know how it can be this imbalanced early on already. No clue how that works, but
I mean, he kind of said it himself. You know, it's a melee class. You know, you got to get in close. You got to do damage in close. You're not an AOE class, so you can't, you know, say it's broken because there's not an AOE on a melee class. I mean, there might be. I haven't played the barb. I've played strictly source so far. I will probably start a barb. I do agree that the barbarian, even in Diablo 3, starts out really slow. You feel slow. You feel it. Like your movement's slow. You're hacking and slow. Like you feel sluggish as a barbarian, and you're not hitting hard either. So it's not a trade-off. You don't look good. You don't feel good. It does feel clunky and slow. I haven't tried the barb in D4. I have a feeling that they kind of stayed true to that, you know, kind of feeling. I think there are, you know, some skills early on that can help with that. Frenzy, you know, helps you swing a little bit faster or something. I'm pretty sure that's still in the early game. But yeah, the benefits of the barb, at least that from my experience in D3 and stuff, is it's really slow and really clunky at first, and then towards the end game, towards max level, is when you really start to shine, and you're moving, you're jumping around, you're leaping, you're just destroying things, and you feel strong. But it does take a while, and yeah, maybe they'll fix that. That's something I kind of do agree on here.
Yeah, here we are. Melee is terrible again, at least the one melee class that I tried, which is Barbarian. And by the way, I heard that there's a bunch of, like, you know, legendary affixes and stuff that make it a little bit better, but baseline Barbarian feels like shit and Sork feels amazing. I don't know how that's possible, but here we are.
The source does feel
good. Which, by the way, is especially problematic because this is early game we're talking about here, so if this already feels this imbalanced, what will happen late game? You know, I have no idea.
Hopefully it's better.
Weapons and itemization, passive stats are also very boring. I think most of the items you literally just click on and you see like a green number pop up, which gives you more damage, and you're like, okay, I'll take that. Like, there's very few interesting stats so far. Even the legendary affixes, most of them that I've gotten have been quite underwhelming.
Okay, that's funny.
We'll see. Obviously, this is early still, so there's surely better items later on, but...
Yeah, agree there. I mean, on my source, I have some better affixes, and I do want to point out that item was really bad. That was pretty funny. But items do get better, and not just affixes or like bonus, you know, skills. That they kind of have done a draw or a homage back to D2 a little bit, where you gain extra skill points for your skills through items, which I think is really, really cool that they're doing that again. In Diablo 3, we don't really have that. Well, I mean, we do a little bit, but it's really cool to see that, as it seems like it's going to be a really prevalent thing in the game. You'll start seeing stuff like +1 to your frozen orb, +2 to your frozen orb, items that will have those types of bonuses on the stats, and I think that's really cool. Maybe he's just gotten really unlucky with some of those items, the legendary items, but yeah, I wouldn't expect to see a lot of really, really good stat boost items this early in the game. No, you're gonna see the junk for sure, and that's too bad. It feels bad, right? But that's just kind of how it is. This is the very first act of the game that we're playing through, only to level 25. So we're not gonna see end game OP items right now.
For now, it really feels like, oh, I got a new item. It has a green thing on it. I equip it,
Yeah.
Next up is the map UI and the quest tracking. Both of those feel very weird. A lot of the side quests aren't tracked properly. Even if you click on them, sometimes it doesn't work. If you go into the area where the side quest is supposed to be, it doesn't track automatically. It just feels clunky.
That's kind of true.
For no reason. I think that's, again, one of those things where a game tester would probably go into that.
I can agree with
for
that.
10 minutes and give feedback,
So my experience with this is it works pretty good. Each of these tabs are for a different thing, right? You have this is the overall. It shows everything that you have going on. I think this is the main storyline. Let's go back into the game. Let's look really quick, right? I've got it open. May as well. Here we go. Return to the game. If we go tab and we open our quest, I don't think I have. Oh, I do. Okay. So this is the quest log, and this tab here, it shows everything, like a whole list of what you have. You can break them down from this little arrow key here, but this tab, I believe, shows everything that you have accepted so far. The next tab, these are campaign, like your main objectives, right? To progress through the storyline. As far as I know, that's what this tab means, right? I forget what this one was. And then these are side quests. So it is separated, I think, enough there, but he is right that sometimes when you enter an area, it doesn't track the quest very well, and hopefully, and that's been an issue for a long time, even in D3. They put helper arrows when you got close to the vicinity of where you're supposed to go for like bounties and stuff like that, and even that is not very helpful sometimes. You get into these really, really bad maps where it's just a maze, and those things don't really help. So I really hope that they do improve that. I can agree with that. Please give us more helpers, so that we can clear these quests a little bit easier, a little bit faster.
This is very obvious problems that make the game feel way more clunky than it should be. So I have no idea how that is also in the game still, because it just doesn't feel good at all. Speaking about the map stuff and the collectibles real quick, I think that overall feels a little bit like they wanted to make interesting collectibles with the renown system and whatever, but what they forgot is most other games like Lost Ark that have stuff like this and collectibles and exploration have that as a side thing and not as kind of the main part of the gameplay loop, at least in low levels. But that is also quite weird, I think, collecting all the stuff on the map, which is system. A lot of copy paste. It kind of just feels like Walmart Genshin Impact, you see an event, you do it, you don't really like.
So yeah, I'm not sure I follow that, because I don't believe that the renown system is really made to be part of the main storyline. At least I didn't get that from my experience playing through it. I did feel like that was something you did on your own, and that's kind of how it feels in WoW as well. You have the cities, and you get you get your renown up. So for weird status updates and whatnot in WoW, you want to become good pals with them or something. I forget exactly all of it. It's been years since I played WoW. But yeah, it doesn't feel like that to me in this game. So I don't know, maybe they made a change and this was done during the part of the beta where that change wasn't implemented yet. But to me, playing through the storyline didn't feel like I needed to go and become and do these renown quests in order to progress through the first act. It didn't feel like that to me at all. So I'm a little confused there.
You maybe get some rewards later on for doing it, but it's like
there are rewards.
Later on, I basically just skipped all of the side things because most of them were the same, and you know, it felt weird also that some random dude level 10 just teleports into the event with you, and then he does triple your damage, and then it's over again. Like I have no idea what happened there. That's the same thing, by the way, with the world scaling. I can talk about that here as well.
Yeah,
the world scaling feels terrible too.
The world scaling
higher
thing.
Level, it feels like I'm doing.
Before he gets into the world scaling thing, I did want to mention you go through like the events in the overworld, right? You do see other players. It's not just your instance anymore like it was in Diablo 3. It's a little bit more open, and you will see players running around the area. I do think that's cool to a degree. I think that they took this from Diablo Immortal, or maybe D4 had already done that technology and then they shipped it off to Diablo Immortal to check out later on, and then Diablo Immortal adopted it and they tested it first. And you know, even then, like I didn't play Diablo Immortal too much, but the general consensus from a lot of my friends who have played the game is that it sucks having a lot of other people out there in the world, and you're fighting for mobs. You know, you're trying to complete a quest and it takes you 3 times as long to complete it because there are so many people out there just waiting for the respawn, and then they kill it. You don't get the, you know, recognition for it, and it just prolongs the whole thing, and that does suck. I haven't felt that in Diablo 4 so far. I haven't been in a quest where I felt like, man, I gotta wait now for these things to respawn, man, like that. But yeah, an over or a higher level player could come into your instance where you're running this event and potentially blow everything up. But when that has happened to me, when someone else has been there, or I've been in someone else's kind of quest, I can see when they're doing the quest. It's been helpful, you know. I've been able to help them, they've been able to help me, and there wasn't really an issue. Like I got the quests done, I didn't have to wait. So hopefully it's just programmed like that for the rest of the game. I guess we'll find out sooner or later. Like, but I didn't really have that kind of an issue, and I don't feel like there's I didn't feel like there was ever a time where there was way too many people in that area either. Like it felt okay. There was like 1 or 2 people running around, and that was it.
Less damage rather than more, right? Like because the mobs level with you, so every time you level up, inherently your character gets weaker comparatively to the rest of the world until you put a skill point somewhere.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird too. Like I've never understood this appeal that in RPGs the surrounding, you know, dungeons and monsters will scale with you. I've never understood this. I don't understand it here either. It just feels weird. I don't know. It just feels terrible to even level up.
Well, it's a good point. I felt this today. You know, I missed something in the starting zone, and I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the starting zone, and I'm gonna go and get. I missed the waypoint of all dumb things, right? But I had to go back anyways because one of the side quests took me there, and I wasn't expecting that to happen. You know, and to a degree in Diablo 3, this does happen too. The mobs kind of become your level, if you will. But yeah, I don't completely agree with that. I don't really like it. You don't feel weaker, but you just feel stagnant, right? You don't feel like you're getting stronger at all because of that. So that's a fair point. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. And again, like I went back to that starting area and the mobs were like my level. I was going through a dungeon like in the first zone, and I wasn't like it was slow, you know. The progress was slow, so it doesn't feel the best. I agree with that. So we'll see what they might or might not do with it going forward.
You know, power fantasy stuff aside, I think it just sucks. I don't know. I would have just removed that. Yeah. Same thing in WoW, but they introduced that in WoW at some point too. I also fucking hated that.
Yep.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Same with the monster density.
You know, to me in WoW, even back when I played, it felt like when an expansion came out, the power curve went up as well, right? Like he was saying, like they introduced this in WoW, like the power curve would just go up. Your numbers would get bigger, but the actual damage you're doing to the mobs and stuff is the same, essentially. You just get a bigger number, but you're still doing the same amount of damage as you were before when you were like 60 compared to 65. Yeah.
In some spots, the monster density feels really nice. In some others, it feels fucking terrible.
It's true.
Especially problematic if you will use Whirlwind on Barbarian, which needs a lot of mobs or bosses to, you know, keep the Fury generation up.
Yep.
Some parts you can basically not use the ability at all, and some parts you have permanent generation. Feels a little odd, but I think that's one of the, you know, less important issues.
Sure.
But let's talk about a more important one, which is the skill tree.
I agree with that. You know, and it's the same way in Diablo 3. If you're a Whirlwind Barb, you go in and you're out of resource a lot. So hopefully there are items in the game, the Bulkathos blades, that give you generation on your Fury, you know, your resource. And so maybe there'll be items like that. Maybe there'll be skills like that. I didn't play the Barb again, so I don't entirely know anything really too much about that. Well, I guess we'll see in the future what they do in skill tree. Getting into the skill tree now, oh boy.
And I can take a direct comparison to both Lost Ark and Last Epoch here. Obviously, I know Lost Ark is an MMO. I get it, right? But they're trying a couple of different features in this one that is a little bit more MMO-like, so I think the comparison is somewhat fair, at least. Let's just say the skill tree for each ability, you literally have a skill, and then you have one node that you have to take, and then you have two nodes that you can pick one of, which are very obvious choices for your build. That's it, right? Maybe you...
I wouldn't say that they're very obvious choices. For example, like let's go back into the game really quick. I don't think that they're super obvious, you know. Are they linear? To a degree, yeah. They are pretty linear, right? Let's see, where's my skill tree? I gotta push. There we go. So if you scroll out, let's just go back to the top. For example, all right. So right now I'm set up as pretty much a Blizzard sorcerer, you know, ice sorcerer. I really enjoyed playing that style in D2, so I figured, you know what, let's play Frozen Orb and, you know, just ice right now. So yes, you take your primary skill, right? And then it unlocks the next three nodes here. And you have a choice of offensive skills or defensive skills on the last part of that leg, right? So there's if you want to play more damage or like kind of glass cannon, you naturally pick the offensive skills. If you're more defensive, there's another node that gives you more defensive skills, right? So for me, on some of them, I picked the offensive one. Like for example, this is Frostbolt has a 15% chance to explode on chilled enemies, hitting surrounding enemies. And then the chance increases to 100% against frozen enemies, right? It's kind of an offensive skill. Frost bolts make frozen enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. That's a, you know, it opens up their armor. Or what's this other one here? And this one generates 4 mana, right? And when it hits, Frostbolt generates 4 mana when hitting chilled or frozen enemies. Okay, so now it's going to give me more resources back, so I can do other things. So you have to think about that a little bit on what you want to do. And then for the Frozen Orb, for example, you have to take this node. Cast above 50% mana, Frozen Orb explosion damage is increased by 30%. Cool, because it does explode at the end of its trajectory. Frozen Orb explosion restores 5 mana when hitting a frozen enemy. Okay, so you get more stuff back, resource back, so you can cast more. Frozen Orb explosion has 24% or 25% chance to make all enemies hit vulnerable for 2 seconds. Okay, so it just reduces, you know, their armor, if you will, or exposes them so that you do more damage. But yeah, for the most part, I don't think that they're really. I don't think it's really telling me exactly what to do. Like, oh, I have to take that, or I'm going to be majorly behind in damage or anything. This is radius is increased. It deals 10% burning damage. This is on the fireball skill. And then this one, fireball explosion critical strike, right? So they do different things. So, and then this is also kind of gear related. Are you going to get a piece of gear that will benefit from one of these two nodes, right? What benefits can you get from those different nodes? How can you pair your gear with the skill to maximize your damage? That to me is pretty cool. So I don't think anything's really set in stone. Like you have to do it that way, you have to do it this way.
You have a legendary effect later on or a unique effect or whatever it is. But so far, that is the extent of the skill customization per skill. And then let's compare that to an actual ARPG, which is Last Epoch, which you literally have a full page for each ability. There's a fuckload of customization here, and in comparison, Diablo just looks like a trash mobile game. Like, what the hell even? You can't even call it a skill twig.
That's a stretch. It doesn't look like a trash mobile game. The skill tree has been there in the past Diablo games. You know, if anything, I think other games kind of took the skill tree from Blizzard. You know, Blizzard's been doing skill trees for a long time, not just in Diablo. They are in WoW as well. I don't remember if they were in the Warcraft games or not. That's been years since I played those, but it's not trash. It's actually, there wasn't even a skill tree in Diablo 3. So it's going back a little bit more towards its roots, in terms of bringing some familiarity back into the game to older fans, right? While also kind of keeping it simple enough to not alienate the new fan base that could be coming into the game. So you have to think about those things too. These other games like this one, we're kind of comparing this to, they're more hardcore. Path of Exile as a crazy skill tree. I'm pretty sure it's Path of Exile. It's insane. It's huge. It's robust. So other things to consider. I haven't played this game that he's comparing it to, but in Diablo, as he had mentioned, some of the skills can be boosted through the gear you got, and that's also kind of what happens in Diablo 2. You know, you can get a piece of gear that gives +1 to your frozen orb. They have those types of pieces of gear in Diablo 4. So it's kind of just like a little bit of recycling an old system and reintroducing it into this game that they've already had. You know what I mean? Or maybe making it and possibly making it better. To me, I don't think the skill tree sucks. I don't think it's any stretch of the means comparable to a mobile game that's out there, even though I haven't really touched those either. But this is this comparison also with this game. I don't know how it works. Are the items that drop in that game that you equip, do they not have any types of, these are things to consider. Do they not have any bonuses to your skills, right? Do they synergize with your skills at all? If that's not the case, then this makes perfect sense to have a system like that, because otherwise you don't have that ability to customize those skills the way that you otherwise would when you're getting the gear through a drop, right? So you have to consider that here. And I don't know how it works in Path of Exile that much either. I only played through maybe like 20 minutes of that game, so I can't really judge that either too much.
It's a skill mini wiener, if anything. That shit's absolutely terrible.
Oh my
I have
goodness.
no idea who thought of this amount of customization. Obviously, we'll have the Paragon board, and as I said, like some other affixes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But each skill seems very lackluster when it comes to customizing it.
Oh, okay. And then that goes back to my previous point.
And also, which is, by the way, very funny, let's talk about the MMO part that they wanted to implement once again. The first time I noticed that was when you go to the first town, you have that little shitty emote quest.
Okay,
Side
yeah,
quest that you need to do, so you put an emote there, and then you cheer on some people.
That was pretty ridiculous. I thought that was ridiculous when I saw it too. I was like, what is this? Do I really need a tutorial on how to use an emote? That felt silly. I agree. That was pretty ridiculous.
What the hell even is that? Like, no one likes that in Lost Ark. No one ever wanted that in Lost Ark. And then this is what they copy? Like, literally a shithole quest that no one wants to do, and it's a complete waste of your time because you have to cheer on some soldiers with an emote.
Yeah.
Later on, you also had that with, like, some altar where you needed to thank an altar or something.
I don't think I got that far
never
yet.
felt good.
Or maybe I
in any
skipped
game
that quest.
ever,
I don't know.
And that is what you take inspiration from?
Yeah,
Listen,
it feels
man,
bad.
Like, I at this point, I have no idea who's in charge of this. But you guys are cooked as shit. I'm gonna be honest. And we could also shortly talk about the combat feel as well, which in comparison to, well, an MMO like Lost Ark is terrible, of course. In comparison to something like another ARPG like Last Epoch or PoE, whatever, I think it's okay. But in some parts, weirdly enough, it feels very odd and clunky, especially the melee combat on Barbarian. Sork, on the other hand, felt quite...
Again, I haven't tried the barb, but I just know from experience in the past, and especially in Diablo 3, it has felt like that, yes.
smooth, but holy shit. Using some of those melee abilities, the boss teleporting away, or the boss having literally like specific mechanics so you can't, you know, attack him in melee at all, it feels completely terrible as well. And then you
yeah, the mobs will shield or something like that, so yeah, you can't do damage, or you know, they won't take physical damage or something goofy like that. Yeah, I understand.
combine that with the lack of proper, you know, keybinds and controls over your character because you can't literally, you know, separate those. It's really...
Again, there, I think that's just a misunderstanding of how to set those things up, the force move, for example, and whatnot. But I don't know, the game has always played kind of the way it is, the way it feels to me. And the force move part of it does definitely help. And I think also what he's getting at too is it's hard to, for the Barbarian, I think, early on to close the gap between mobs and stuff too. So that part of the gameplay doesn't feel good, and you can't pull things in to you as well. I don't think. But in D3, for example, you have a spear, right? You can pull the mobs in, you can get them closer to you, or you can use your stomp ability, and that kind of groups things together. I don't know what the rest of the game is going to be like for the barb, you know, but yeah, it would be nice to have them maybe early on have an ability to get things closer to them as they're kind of scattering and running away from you, because there are a lot of mobs in the Diablo universe that, you know, in Sanctuary that run away from you. They're ranged, they don't want to get near you, they get scared of you and they run away. So having that about the ghosts, you know, ranged attackers, those types of things. So yeah, that feels bad. I understand. Yeah, let's see what else.
Weird. I have the weird feeling that this game will suffer a lot from a lack of identity, because right now it feels like it's kind of in between MMO, ARPG, and PoE, but has neither of the good aspects of them.
I don't necessarily feel like it's not going to have its own identity. I feel like it has its own identity already. I feel like other games have taken a lot of inspiration from the Diablo franchise, you know, PoE, the games that he's referring to. Those games have their own identity for sure, absolutely. And I still feel like D4 has its own identity. I don't think there's anything wrong here. And I think it's just going to get better and better as we kind of progress through and unlock new abilities, unlock just new features and all that other stuff too. So I don't necessarily agree here with that statement that it's not going to have its own identity.
Like, Lost Ark really shines with endgame raiding and really difficult encounters that, you know, you can do with a group of people and they feel nice, which we might see with world bosses, but let's be honest here, okay? The world bosses are not going to be epic.
Yeah, so I don't think the focus is going to be with the world bosses. I think, you know, we're talking endgame here. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because we're not talking about endgame. I think that when we finally get there, we're going to have things like greater rifts. I'm pretty sure they've already discussed this. The devs have already brought this up, that there are going to be like bounties and greater rifts and other kind of endgame. The endgame content should be a lot better than what it is now, which is this instant-based dungeons, which is okay, you know, but those will get old. But when we get to the end game, when we actually are able to act, let's just wait. That's all I can say. Let's just wait until we get there. Let's not jump the gun. We can't compare end game content from a game that's been out already to a game that's still sort of in development, right? We're in a beta. Things should be feature complete at this point, and what we see right now should be, in theory, what we get at launch at this point. Things shouldn't we shouldn't see major changes at all right now, or things that will take coding, or things like that changes. But it's way too late in the development cycle to do those things. End game content, we just have to wait and see. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be challenges. We're going to be able to group together just like we have in Diablo 3 for greater rifts, you know, or other dungeons, and go through, and every class type is going to have its own purpose, you know, and different group buffs that it can give, just like we have in Diablo 3. I'm sure they're gonna keep that up, because those are aspects of the game that we love. Let's just wait and see. We'll wait and see. We won't talk end game here.
Encounters. They've never been in any game. I would love to be wrong, but usually in every single video game, world bosses are either steamrolled or meat grinders, one of the two.
No, that'll happen too.
I've never seen it different, so we will see that a little bit later as well today.
And right now, like I have a video up. Check it out. Maybe I'll link it here or something for my Ashava world boss encounters. Ran two different instances, and lost the first one, beat the second one. If you're interested in checking that out, go for it. You know, it's here on my channel. Have a go at it. But I can kind of agree to that. I don't think that the world bosses are going to be that big of a deal. You know, it is fun. I had a blast doing it, but I don't think it's going to be a staple type of a feature in this game. No.
We can do the world boss, but I would assume it's also gonna feel quite underwhelming. It also doesn't have the, you know, typical ARPG galaxy brain build maker stuff either.
Yeah, like this is like, I believe that's PoE, right? I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but PoE in that regard, this is the game that they wanted it to be. They wanted it to be hardcore like that. The developers have said this. They want it to be insanely hardcore. They want you to be having to think about all these massive different things, and that's why the skill tree is so insane. They built it that way. They wanted it to be different from Diablo in that regard, and they succeeded.
Either, at least not so far. Again, with the legendaries or the Paragon board, that could be a little bit more interesting. But so far, just looking at the current skill tree, that is really shallow. And I don't think that all of those other systems can make it feel a lot more complex as well.
Yeah, it is shallow right now, and again, I think we're only seeing a part of it. I think we're only just seeing through the first 25 levels of the skill tree. I think it's going to be bigger. I think it's going to branch out and get bigger. I could be wrong.
Again, I would love to be wrong, but that's, you know, what I think so far. All that being said, though, we're still in beta. So right now, obviously,
yes,
you can only critique the game so much because we're literally in Act 1 out of 5. We're literally just leveled, you know.
So I believe he kind of contradicted himself a little bit there. Like you said all these bad things about the game, and then you come back and say, well, you know what? It's a beta. We shouldn't be judging it too hard. But you're literally here judging it harshly, you know. But there are things I agree with here. There are some things I disagree with here.
2025. So all I'm gonna say is this, okay, give the game some time, but as of right now, there's a bunch of red flags, a bunch of little, you know, problematic.
I don't know about that. I think he's judging it a little too harshly at this point. I do think that he's being harsh.
Big mines, you know, in Minesweeper where you have like these little, you can put like a little flag there where you think there's a mine there. That's basically what I think about this game right now. It feels like a minefield of things that could possibly explode and completely shit on the game. That's what I feel about it right now. So that being said, thanks for watching. I know that's a very negative video, but I feel like that's kind of the reality so far.
Okay.
Again, I'm gonna play through it again with the 2 other classes, and next weekend probably with a druid and a necromancer as well, and see if
I want to play the
changes
necromancer.
My opinion at all. But so far, I think most of this stuff is pretty accurate, and yeah, see you guys on the other side, I guess. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, consider subbing. If you didn't, hey, that's fair. Thanks for watching.
Well,
Peace.
all right.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
You know, not everything about it was wrong. Not everything about it was right. I do kind of share some similar feelings about certain things, you know. But I wouldn't judge the game too harshly right now. Again, it is a closed beta. There's going to be a lot of bugs. We just have to kind of wait and see. Maybe next weekend, I think they're going to unlock some more levels and whatnot. Maybe the second act. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But my general consensus still kind of stays the same. I'm generally enjoying the game. I think that there's a lot of really cool things. He didn't even really touch on, you know, the feature of dodging, right? This new feature here, or evade. This, I mean, it's in other games, I think, too. I think Path of Exile has it, and a couple other games. But, you know, that's really cool. That wasn't in Diablo 3, and you can use that offensively. You can use it defensively. If you want to close the gap between an enemy and yourself, wham! You know? And then there's pieces of equipment. You can see I have 2 charges. There are pieces of gear that give you more charges so you can evade even more. So maybe you can have infinite evade and just run around everywhere. I don't know, but I feel like that's pretty cool. So that's a system that the Barb may early game be able to benefit from. You know, closing the gap on your enemy when you can't move in, or they run away from you or teleport away. Like, oh, dang it, okay.
Not while I'm in town.
And then smack them in the face, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, I generally am enjoying the game, like I've said before. Again, I do agree with a lot of the things that he did kind of go over. I want to also thank Neeko2lo's for even putting that review together. I think that was really cool to kind of go through and kind of share my opinions and thoughts on something that was kind of negative about the game, when majority of the things I've been hearing and saying are good things about the game. So, you know, with that being said, I think we'll just wait and see what happens. And hey, if you like this video, go ahead and like, subscribe. I would appreciate it. And I hope to do a lot more of these types of things in the future. I think this was really fun. So stay tuned, and hopefully I'll see you in Sanctuary sometime. Bye, everybody.